Oh, yeah, oh.
Musika.
Ano mga Indomie, pakinasi ka lang top. Top of me. Ito to, ano to? Karamasan ko.
Good afternoon. For audio, so we won't have any overlapping of classes. Thank you. Salamat sore. Maayong hapon. Good afternoon. To our
Magandang
guest,
araw. Kumusta ka?
I'm okay, thank you. To our guests from the Philippines and Indonesia who are joining us virtually today, welcome to the first international collaborative lecture series between University of Mindanao, Philippines and Universitas Bayangkara, Jakarta Raya, Indonesia. This collaborative lecture series is part of the mutual recognition initiative between the two universities. But before we proceed with the program proper, we shall first have the singing of the national anthem of the Philippines, followed by the national anthem of Indonesia.
Bayang magiliw pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng mag-ibig sa malubig. Di ka pasisi, sa dagat tatlok sa sibuyat, sa pangit mga baga, ilang ulang at sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng matawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituing at araw niyang kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng wala din pagsinta. Buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng pagmay mga pre ang mamatay ng dahil.
Okay. To our esteemed official faculty of the University of Mindanao, Philippines, Jakarta, Raya, Indonesia, to you by University of Mindanao Professional Schools, Master of Social Work, Master of Science in Social Work. By the way, we're also live on Facebook, so if you're watching the live via our social media platform and UBJ's YouTube channel, please let your presence be known by leaving us remarks from UM Chief Academic Officer and Dean of Professional Schools, Dr. Henry S. Buhao Jr.
Student. For the with is them or those who get made it just well.
Master Guha. Now let's listen to a heartwarming message from Dr. Mira Sekar Aruji of the Faculty of Psychology, Ankara.
Stable. I'm just reacting. Hello. I get any voice. Can we not? Um, I have unstable connection. First, I would like to greeting to Honorable Dr. Ronaldo, Senior Vice President for Academic, the Honorable Iza from External Relations National, Dr. Dia Matasari, DP, as Vice Cooperation and Information Technology, and Dr. Ines, our speaker from UM and from students from universities. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Magandang hapon. My name is Mira Skaruni, Dean of the Faculty of Psychology and Karya. There is a very positive memorandum between UBJ. The theme, people with substance use disorder, is closely related to our scientific study field, namely psychology, because psychology also studies humans and also more specifically UBG's psychology application, namely the psychology. This forensic include behavior, criminal. This relation is in our scientific field or faculty of study. Very important and on lecturers, our most experienced clinical psychologists, the speaker from the topic of this participants can more knowledge and appreciation. UBJ also this event and optimum benefit. That is all speech. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Low cost.
I think others are experiencing unstable internet connection. Yeah, actually, before I'd like to ask if my asking you
Is the
thumbs up if we clear clearly. What about the others? Can't you hear me clearly? It's not
please
clear. Sorry. Okay, I understand.
please not good.
Um, for a while, we to fix the
Before? Can you please? Stable audio. Sino ito mo?
stable.
Dire-diretso.
Ask bit of your patience as we try to solve some technical issues here at our end. I'd like to request a little patience, please. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm so voice clear.
there is very bad connection.
Baca-bacain.
Good afternoon. What about this time? Is it clearer now?
Yes, Debbie.
Okay, so I think we can proceed. We deeply apologize for the inconvenience for the technical issue. Once again, thank you for that message. So, academic is learning and other external academic. However, UBJ even though virtually, just because of the unique that we have at the moment, this online lecture of UM and UJ value knowledge sharing about and on to also part of the program wherein we're asked to participate in an in using Menti with this website. So So research understanding use disorders. We should study because it is by nature that when we hear about drug users who use BS in hominology in the University of Physics, Arizona, USA, she got her MS. Social work degree at Asia Social Institute Manila and her bachelor's degree at Concordia College Manila. Significantly, she's understanding psychoactive substance users, trauma-informed care, case management, and case study preparation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ines V. Danao.
Excuse me, Dr. Ines, I think you should unmute your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot to unmute. Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr.
It's
Ines.
amazing. There are now, yes, sir. There are now 392 participants. So let's use this order. I would like to invite everyone to look at two theories, the cognitive dissonance of Festinger's theory and the trans-theoretical model of change. I would like to request your indulgence that if I may turn off my camera because my internet is unstable, since you have seen my face already. Okay. So Isa, shall we look at the PowerPoint presentation, please? All right. So let us look at Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory and Prochaska and De Clemente's trans-theoretical model, or what we call TTM of change. I think we all experience having two ideas or two beliefs at the same time. And that is what we call ambivalence, when we are not really sure about what we want to choose to think or choose the direction that we want to take. So let's look at the objectives of this webinar, the first series of the webinar lecture series. So at the end of the webinar, the participants shall be able to describe the coping stance of denial and cognitions of a person involved in substance use, such as those who smoke, those who drink alcohol too much, and those who use drugs. Number two, differentiate the stages of trans-theoretical model of change. What are the different steps that a person has to take in order to move towards sustained change? Let us also look at the ways how we can move the substance user from ambivalence to sustaining action taken to the direction of change, because it is expected that those who are taking drugs, those who are using substances, tend to experience relapse. So with these three objectives, I would like to start with the Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory. Let's look at this. Let us view this video.
Humans prefer cognitions to be unopposed or... Welcome to the MCAT Multimedia Series, a MCAT analysis of Leon Festinger's A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance. Well, something has to kill me. For Leon Festinger, an American social psychologist, that is the sound of a human mind resolving conflict. Festinger is known for his work on cognitive dissonance, a psychological state produced by conflicts between cognitions. Cognitions is an umbrella term for any idea, belief, emotion, or knowledge. Festinger's A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance, published in 1957, argued that humans prefer cognitions to be unopposed or consonant, and struggle with those that are opposed or dissonant. Due to the sheer number of cognitions that we process, they are often in conflict, and these conflicts become noticeable when we have to make decisions or are faced with new information that contradicts ideas we already hold. Festinger believed these conflicts to be psychologically distressing. When they occur, he said, people will try to resolve the conflict. When two cognitions are inconsistent, this usually means attempting to reduce dissonance by controlling the information we're exposed to. What sort of conflicts? Well, cigarette smokers often encounter cognitive dissonance. There is conflict between the behaviors created by their enjoyment of and addiction to smoking, and information highlighting the health problems associated with their habit. Festinger argues that this dissonance causes smokers to become distressed by their smoking behavior. They may talk constantly about quitting, or try repeatedly to quit. But Festinger's theory goes further than that. He suggests smokers use 4 specific techniques to combat dissonance and the distress associated with it. Number 1. Smokers may quit smoking because of messages from health officials. That's the smoker changing existing cognitions to relieve the distress caused by new messages. Number 2. Smokers may attempt to justify their cognitions. For example, they might concentrate on the likelihood that everyone faces a health risk, one way or another. Quitting smoking doesn't mean avoiding every risk, they argue. So is it worth it? Or maybe the pleasure gained is worth the risk. Thirdly, they add new cognitions. For instance, eating healthily or exercising, a smoker might argue, counteracts the risk of smoking. In other words, several desirable cognitions can outweigh the distress caused by the health warning, making it altogether easier to cope. Finally, number 4. Smokers may dismiss information by questioning the validity of the science behind a warning. Wasn't there a study last month that seemed to prove the opposite? Or they may ignore it by working to avoid coming into contact with negative messages. Festinger argued that his theory explained behaviors much more dangerous than smoking. If people in government work together to rationalize and justify their actions, it becomes much easier to ignore warnings. A more detailed examination of his ideas can be found in the McCat analysis.
Okay, so we have that video, and now I would like to summarize the content of that video. According to Maria Montessori, nothing goes to the brain without passing through the senses. So the more senses are involved, then more understanding. So I have 2 slides summarizing the content of the video, the cream of the cognitive dissonance theory. So according to Festinger, humans prefer cognitions to be unopposed or consonant and struggle with those that are opposed or dissonant. Cognitions are beliefs, ideas, information. So dissonance is psychologically distressing. So if we have opposing cognitions, then it makes us feel bad. So therefore, we would like to reduce the dissonance. So as stated in the video, the smokers, they encounter information about health risks of smoking. And they think about quitting, but at the same time, they are not ready to stop. So let's look at the 4 techniques of smokers. So even those who drink too much alcohol, how they combat dissonance. 1 is to quit smoking or stop drinking alcohol in order to relieve the distress. Another technique is they justify their cognition. So they concentrate on the likelihood that everyone faces a health risk or pleasure gain is worth the risk. So it's better to die happy than be miserable. The 3rd technique is they add a new cognition. So they will say, I can counteract the risk of smoking by eating healthily or exercising. The 4th one is the person may disqualify or look at the demerits of what science is saying about smoking, drinking alcohol, or using drugs. I remember there's I have a colleague, a psychiatrist, and we were worried about his drinking. We think that he is drinking too much. So what we did was to invite a specialist, and share with us the studies about what happens to the heart, to the brain, and to the lungs when someone is smoking. But he was ready with other studies to prove otherwise. So we can see that even doctors who are using substances that are not good for the body may be selective in what science is saying about substance use. So at this point, I would like to invite everyone to go to the menti.com and use the code. Shakespeare is saying that lovers are blind to the follies they make. It is like saying love is blind. So I would like you to think of someone. It may be you or someone you know whose relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend is strongly opposed by everyone around him and later became heartbroken. So I would like you to go to the menti.com. Isa, can you give the instructions, please? How to go to the menti.com?
I'd like to request the participants to please visit the Google browser and go to menti.com and then key in this. The code is 609464.
So they have to type on the Google browser.
That's what menti.com.
Isa, kindly repeat the code. There are requests in the chat to repeat the code.
Can you see the screen? Na? Screen wala.
No, ma'am.
I'm screen.
Wala, hindi po.
Kanina, earlier, we saw the Google browser with the mentimeter.com. Okay, yes, you can see the screen here. So the code is 609464. 609464. I need to see the explanation of the person in love. You know, like when the people opposed are saying your boyfriend or girlfriend is a playboy or playgirl, the explanation is, oh, his or she husband is too handsome or too beautiful so that they run after him or after her. So if you say cheater, what is the explanation of the person in love? Okay, I can see here on the right side, cheater, because we believe, no. Okay, it has to be, it's a criticism, but the person in love sees what is good about it, or there's an explanation, there's a rationale. Hello, Isa. What I'm looking for is the criticism plus the explanation. So this one is clingy, okay. So somebody will just say clingy means being affectionate. We have to see the opposing cognition. Other people see it as a criticism, but the person in love sees the positive side of that criticism.
So they have to give number one is the criticism,
the rationale that is given,
followed by the justification of the person in love.
Okay, yes. Playgirl because she's easy to love. Okay. Yes. Okay. I think you got the idea already that people see it as a criticism, as negative, but the person in love is something positive about it. Okay, so I think we can continue with the slides. Thank you. Thank you for those who participated.
We'll proceed to question number 2.
Right, so what do you call that? The coping stance of the person in love. Letter D. It starts with letter D.
Number 2, Doc.
The person does not see the problem. So how is this, Isa? They will type the, or they're already in? They don't have to type the 609464. They just have to type their responses. Oh, yes. Kindly give the instruction for them to answer. You are going to use the cloud here.
They can 6-4. We're getting some responses already.
Oh, okay.
Can you see your screen po?
Yes, yes, I can see. I see denial, the biggest. Yes, and then followed by defensive, slave of love. Wow, slave of love. Alibi, brave, dissonant. What is butin? Careless, protection, toxic relationship. All right. So the coping stance of the person in love to the criticism of other people is denial. Meaning there's no problem. You are the ones who have problem. I don't have the problem. Okay, so thank you for participating in the Mentimeter. So that is cognitive dissonance. So that is cognitive dissonance. Now, let's look at the trans-theoretical model, or TTM, of change. So according to the two authors, Prochaska and De Clemente, there are 5 stages of change. One, pre-contemplation. 2, contemplation. 3, preparation. 4, action. 5, maintenance. And let us remember that there will always be tendency for relapse. So we have to expect the relapse to happen. I read in one study, for change to really be permanent, it must be taking, or the change has happened for 5 years. So if the person is steadily moving towards change for 5 years, then the person is safe. There will be no more relapse. So it's not that quick, it's not that easy. We just have to be patient for at least 5 years. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so you can see here the graphic presentation of the stages. So you can see here the pre-contemplation characterized by denial. Is I'm not done yet. The caricature. Please go back to the caricature. All right. This is very easy to remember. You know, graphics have, visual presentations have a good way of helping us remember. So as you can see here in the pre-contemplation, there is denial. Then this is followed by ambivalence. So the person is already considering change. But the person is torn between changing or not changing. And so that is ambivalence, the love-hate portion. So the third stage is determination preparation. So for about 0 to 3 months, the person is demonstrating motivation. Yes, let's go. This is followed by action. So for 6 months, the person has been doing what it takes on the go towards change and maintaining it for 6 months. So we say the person is living it, then suddenly relapse. So in relapse, you go all the way back, trying to, so you go into ambivalence again. So I know of someone, when she was brought to the hospital and even stayed in the ICU, the intensive care unit, when she went home, she said, I am going to really quit. But what happened was for a month, she was not smoking, but afterwards, she was confined for another month. So she said, never mind, I am not going to stop smoking because if I stop for 1 month, then I am hospitalized for the same number of days. Okay, so that is what we call relapse. Okay, next slide, please. So if you see here, the percentage of clients who are ready for treatment. So you can see that a big percentage belong to the contemplation. And you have almost the same number of percentage of people who are in the pre-contemplation, action, and preparation. Okay, next slide, please. So let's look at the different stages of change. So what happens in the pre-contemplation? The person is in denial, does not see the problem, does not accept there is a problem, does not own the problem. So if ever the person comes for treatment, the person says, I'm here because they made me come. It's their problem, not mine. So the next stage is contemplation. So this is when the person begins to be aware of the problem, but not sure about what to do or does not fully understand the nature of the dilemma. So the person says, I know I lost control again and did things I regret, but I only go overboard with the drinking because she makes me angry. So the person does not feel responsible. But there is some kind of idea that there is a need for change. Next stage. All right, so we're still in the ambivalence. So it is very important that when the client is talking about change, that we notice we need the timing. The correct timing is when the person is talking about changing or not changing, because that is what we call ambivalence. So ambivalence is the hallmark of the contemplation stage of change. So that is a sign that the person is already in the contemplation stage if the person is experiencing ambivalence. Next. Okay, so what is ambivalence? The person is simultaneously wanting and not wanting something, or wanting both of the two incompatible things. Next, please. So ambivalence is a normal part of the change process. So if a person, anybody who wants change, has to go through ambivalence. All right, this is what we need to look at. You look at the sentence of the person and you will hear two kinds of talk. So in one sentence, there is what you call the change talk. The person's own statements that favor the change, self-motivational statements. So the sentence that says the person wants to change, that is what you call the change talk. The other is sustain talk. Sustain meaning to say the person wants to continue with the behavioral problem. Okay. So these are samples of ambivalent statements, the change talk and the sustain talk. So look at this one, the first sentence. The first, I want to quit smoking. So there is the change talk. I want to quit smoking. But every time I've tried, I gain weight, then start again. That is the sustain talk. Okay. So there is an expression of change, but the next sentence wants to sustain the problem. Let's look at the next statement. I know it's bad for my health. Okay, so there is an awareness that there is risk, there is health risk. Then the second statement is sustain talk, meaning the person does not want to change. So the person says, I can't imagine not smoking. So with those two examples, I would like to invite you again to look at persons you're familiar with, maybe a chain smoker, alcoholic, or using drugs. So I would like you to write one statement that where you have both the change talk and the sustain talk. So I'd like you to go to the mentimeter.com. Isa, please give the instruction.
Still go to menti.com and input the code 470628.
Hujan ya?
And we have this.
Iya, tapi kurang bener sih. Parah gitu mah.
smoking is bad for your health and others near you. It has to be the person talking. They always say that they are stamina is quick. There's no ambivalence. It's part of my habit after eating to avoid vomiting. That is again a cognition smoking, but I do not know how to start. This one is considering change. No? I want to quit smoking, but I'm busy if I'm not smoking. Okay, so that is the change stop. All right, so that is the change stop. I want to stay sober without drinking. That is change stop. But there is no sustained talk there. Wait, I will see if I can remove this. I cannot read. Okay. I want to stop the habit, but only this can make me happy. Okay, so that is, so I want to stop the habit, that is the change stop. This one, this statement is more of the sustained thought, because it says maybe I will quit because this is not, I don't see here a change thought. This is a sustained thought. Drugs is good, but it's bad for your body and future. Okay, so here there is a recognition that it will be bitter if it doesn't slow. This one is somebody is talking. It cannot be this. It will be better if he doesn't smoke. That is another person talking, so that is not a sample abusing a substance. If it's another person talking, then that is not considered ambivalence. Okay, so I think you got the idea already about ambivalence. So it's important that when we are talking expresses, change talk. There is a consideration. The person is considering change or stopping the bad habit. And at the same time, to continue. Follow it and keep moving in the chosen direction. Of course, the direction that we want is when you spend about like 11 hours in control, it will be good to look at Fessinger's theory and also this TTM. So Isa,
Next slide po.
we must trust ourselves and our opinions more so than others. So when the internal debate team is in conflict, there is no change. But when the internal debate settles on a direction, then change occurs. So this is what is happening in our mind. When our mind is able to make a choice, choose a particular direction, then we expect change to happen. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, now this is for, according to Miller and Rodnick, this is for us, the helping professionals. That the helping professionals have the tendency to do the writing reflex. What does it mean? It is a natural and instinctive response of trained care providers to fix the problem, to make things right, to use knowledge acquired from training and experience to help the individual seeking care to overcome their problems. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's look at the professional, the helping professional, and the client feeling ambivalent. So the professional says, you need to stop. But the client says, tell me something I don't already know. The professional says you haven't been compliant with the treatment plan. The client answers, I've tried numerous times and cannot seem to stick with it. The professional says you have to take this to get better. The client says you sound like my wife or my husband. Next slide, please. So what do we listen to most? Which side of the ambivalence debate is the professional likely to side with? Which side of the ambivalence debate is left for the client to side with internally or verbally? So there are two things. So you have to change talk opportunity lost and the sustained talk opportunity of no change. Next slide, please. Let's look at the preparation stage of change. So the person has an appreciable understanding of the nature of the problem, can express desires, reasons, abilities, and needs, and discusses making or considering plans to change. However, sustained talk remains. So example, the person says, I know I need to manage what I eat and exercise to help control my diabetes. Yet, every other time I've tried, I've gone right back to the same old. I just don't know if I have what it takes to go to the long haul. So the next part is action. So the client now is actively taking steps to change, but has not yet reached a stable state. So the person says, I've been testing my glucose levels and keeping track of what I've been eating. Yeah, I quit smoking. I started exercise boot camp last week. So the person at this stage, action, the person is really taking steps. Next slide, please. Maintenance. So this is what I was saying earlier. The maintenance part has to be at least 5 years. You need 5 years. You have to maintain it. Because in between that, there will be relapse and you have to continue going. So the client has achieved initial goals and now working to maintain gains. So why are we discussing these stages of change? Understanding the process of change and being able to identify where your client is in the change process facilitates the choice in the use of the motivational interviewing techniques and practices. So what we discussed here is a prelude, is an introduction to the motivational interviewing, an intervention for substance users. So MI is an evidence-based intervention for substance users. So it has proven to be useful. So if you notice, we are talking about change. So change is not only for substance users, but also for people who would like to change things, like the habit of always reporting late to work or submitting reports, requirements late, or procrastinating. So the Festinger's dissonance theory and the TTM will be helpful to sustain change and ultimately change for the better. So that's it. I hope that the presentation is helpful not only for our clients or the persons we work with, but also what part of our behavior or attitude has to be changed for the better. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Danao, for your insightful talk. Now, to award the certificate, I'd like to call on the program coordinator for Master of Science in Social Work program, Dr. Christine Concepcion.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So, on behalf of University of Mindanao, and also we're also grateful that partnership with Universidad Bayangkara Jakarta Raya the fruition today. Also would like to thank Dr. Ines Danao for responding positively to our invitation to talk this in this afternoon's lecture series from among the many lectures that shall transpire in the succeeding months in this partnership. Okay, so I'll read the citation. University of Mindanao, Philippines and Universitas Bayangkara, Raya, Indonesia. Certificate of Appreciation is given to Ines P. Danao, RSW, MSSW, PhD, for being the resource person during the UBJ International Collaborative Lecture Series, which is part of the Mutual Recognition Initiative between the two universities. This certificate is given on February 26, 2021, signed by our President, University President, Dr. Guillermo Torres Jr., and President of our Rector, Dr. Bambang Calzono, Rector of University of Bayangkara, Jakarta. Thank you very much po, Dr. Danao. Congratulations po.
Thank you, Dr. Concepcion.
Thank you very much again, Dean Concepcion and Dr. Ines Danao. So the next part of the program is where practitioners in the field share their insights. And response is Dr. Desiree Anonat, an MS Social Work faculty of the University of Mindanao.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. So, the topic discussed by Dr. Ines Danao.
Okay, we are from Barangay. Saying good afternoon.
Okay, can I start? So the topic discussed by Dr. Ines Danao, understanding the person with substance use disorder to the lenses of Skinner's cognitive dissonance theory and Prochaska and De Clemente's trans-theoretical model of change talks about the stages of change model. In the theory of Festinger in 1957, he also proposed the principle of cognitive disconsistency, which suggests that human beings have an inner drive to hold all our attitude and behavior in harmony and avoid disharmony or dissonance. Thus, whenever there is a dissonance in our thoughts, beliefs, or behavior, something must change to eliminate that dissonance. Controlling what this change is the key to resolving cognitive dissonance. The changes of change model by Prochaska and Clemente provide a useful way of understanding the process of change and gives a structure to how changes in addictive behavior can be encouraged and managed through a treatment intervention approach called motivational interviewing. Dr. Dana provides an overview of the 5 stages, illustrating and describing the behavior of the person in different stages, which includes relapse as an additional stage. In the pre-contemplation stage, the person did not see the behavior as a problem. Therefore, the person believes that there is no need for change. The second change or the second stage is contemplation. In this stage, the person recognizes the problem, begins to think of changing or quitting the addictive behavior, but haven't yet committed for changing. A person in contemplation stage is sitting on the fence. A part of him wants to change, but an equally compelling part of him wants to stay the same. Thus, the person is ambivalent about change. Dr. Dano defined ambivalence in her talk as the hallmark of the contemplation stage of change. According to De Clemente and Velasquez, 2002, people in contemplation stage struggle to understand their problem, to see its causes, and to think for possible solution. A person with addiction may stay in the contemplation stage for a longer period, that they may move forward to the next stage or move backward to the pre-contemplation stage. And Dr. Danao emphasizes that the path out to this ambivalent behavior is to choose a direction, follow it, and keep moving in the chosen direction. She continued to explain the next stages, the preparation stage, the action stage, and the maintaining stage, instilling hope to clients. When you still hope to client, change is possible. The writing reflex was mentioned as a natural and instinctive response of trained caregivers to fix the problem, make things right, and use the knowledge acquired to help individual seeking care to overcome the problem. Dr. Danao in her talk gave emphasis on the importance of discussing and understanding the process of change that enables the professional helper to identify where the client is in the change process, facilitating choices in the use of motivational interviewing techniques and practices. Discuss one by one are further of motivational interviewing with the overall goal to increase motivation so that change arise from within rather than imposed from without. The clinical social worker strives to recognize client efforts towards change while eliciting existing strength and resources, building motivation by bringing out self-motivational statement that pushes the client for change. On what strategy can a clinical social worker use to enhance the motivation? Then it is the clinical social worker's expert knowledge to choose on what intervention approach and strategy is appropriate at each stage of change. To end the theory of Festinger, cognitive dissonance, and Prochaska and the Clementes transtheoretical model of change indeed, the two theories are effective in understanding the person with substance use disorder as evidenced by those who uses and applying the theory in different addictive substances and applying it to different psychosocial problems. What is good in here was the idea that motivational interviewing is useful to various types of problems. Clinical workers, social workers can use motivational interviewing to help, can use motivational
Any questions, please type in your questions in our Zoom chat box, and we'll be reading them later for Dr. Ines to answer. So, next to give her response is a clinical psychologist and the vice dean of psychology. Kindly unmute your mic, Dr. Rika.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Iza.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Ines Danau, for the very insightful presentation. I feel very honored to be able to respond for Dr. Danau explanations about substance use disorder. Well, if I may have the permission to share screen, Ms. Iza. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, I guess Dr. Naval has give us a very broad explanations, from the perspective of Leon Festinger, cognitive dissonance and also the trans-theoretical model of change. So Dr. Danau explanation reminds me to other theory that seems similar, which is called cognitive distortions from Aaron Beck. So allow me to share about our experience here in Indonesia doing interventions due to the substance use treatment. First, I would like to begin with definitions. Well, today I speak as a clinical psychologist. Yeah. We started from the definition first. According to DSM-5, substance use disorder is a cluster of cognitive, behavioral, and physiological symptoms indicating that the individual continues using the substance despite significant substance-related problems. Well, as we heard before from Dr. Danau's exercise at the beginning, yeah, we learn about some of the behavior, yeah, some of related problems that usually occur by drugs abuse, like social impairment, yeah, and then other behavioral problems. And as we know that substance use disorder is not only about alcohol or tobacco. It's also regarding to few other substance. That is why it is called substance use disorder, not using the terms of addictions. This to show the wider range of this disorder. Yeah, such as opioids, caffeine, cannabis, hallucinogen inhalants, and etc. And then, as we know that various mental health conditions can also co-occur during this substance use disorder. So, if someone was diagnosed by substance use disorder, well, he or she may also occur other mental health issues such as depression or maybe anxiety, and for some of the severe problems can cause schizophrenia. And then why is that so? Because if we want to diagnose someone as the substance use disorder, then it has something to do with the pathological pattern of behaviors related to the use of substance. Yeah, because if someone continue to use drugs in a very excess amount or in a very long time, then it will cause some brain dysfunctions. As we know that if we're talking about substance use disorder, we are not talking about physiological symptoms only, but we also will talk about the cognitive and also the behavior. And then Dr. Danau has explained about the Festinger about cognitive dissonance in psychological other psychological perspective. Yeah, we can also know about one of the technique that is used to as a treatment for the substance use disorder patients. Here in Indonesia, we have the National Board of Narcotics, or we call it BNN, Badan Narkotika Nasional, yeah, that help us to do the campaign about the danger of using drugs, and also to give education, yeah, about how to detect early about this substance use disorder, and also provide the social empowerment in order to solve these problems, because this drugs abuse or narcotics use have been a national problem. So we put big efforts to handle these problems. And then in Indonesia, yeah, we have some of programs to handle this substance use disorder. We have the harm reduction program, and then we also have the traditional ways such as inpatient and outpatient program. Yeah, and we also have the therapeutic community, yeah, as a rehab for someone who has problem with the use of excessive drugs. And then speaking of which, I would like to talk more about the role of psychology, yeah, in dealing with substance use disorder. Well, as a clinical psychologist, these are some of things that we do here in Indonesia. First of all, we do the assessment before we provide the treatment plan. First, we perform the assessments in order to know the severity of these problems. Yeah, and then we use the DSM-5, yeah, as the standard, as the gold standard, yeah, to decide whether this person is on a mild or in severe conditions. That will lead us to the next treatment plan, which is involved not only the psychosocial interventions, but some of public health here in Indonesia also use other techniques such as religious therapy. And then the clinical psychologists also perform psychotherapy. For example, CBT. Speaking about CBT or cognitive behavior therapy, it seems it has a few things in common with the trans-theoretical model of change, which Dr. Danau has explained before. Yeah, if Dr. Danau speaks about the cognitive dissonance, then in CBT, yeah, we will talk about cognitive distortion. Yeah, cognitive distortion is a way that someone is convinced about their negative thoughts. Yeah, they feel convinced about the negative thinking. Yeah, they rationalize the negative thoughts. Yeah, so in CBT, first, yeah, we try to recognize which one of these cognitive distortions that relies on that person, and then we will do the restructuring part. Yeah, so CBT is not only about cognitive techniques, but it also combines a few of behavior modifications. Yeah, so because often people with substance use disorder is having relapse few times, not only once, but maybe twice or thrice. Why? Because they have some of brain dysfunction due to the excess use of drugs. So if we want to change the behavior, we need to change the mind first. That's why we need to recognize, we need to know, yeah, which one of the cognitive distortions that relies on that person. And then after that, we will elaborate deeper, and then we will facilitate them, yeah, to change their mind. Because in CBT, we believe that if someone can create some thoughts, then he or she is the one who can change it. So that's why therapists was here to present to enlighten members, yeah, to give enlightenment. We don't provide solution, but we provide ways for them to find the solution itself. So in order to help patients with substance use disorder, what we do is we help them change through the talking therapy process. using the CBT techniques. And after that, we believe that support group, if they continue to attend support group, it can assist them in a long-term success, staying sober, staying clean, and not back to the high phase anymore, because they have the awareness to change, and we provide them ways to change. And I guess what Dr. Danau has presented to all of us today is a very insightful presentation, and I believe that it is very applicable, and we're really thankful for to be able to hear straight from Dr. Danau the explanations about this trans-theoretical model of change to help more how to deal with substance use disorder. And I hope this session will encourage more people to stay safe, and also to take care not only themselves but also their beloved ones, to prevent them from using substance use abusively. As Mark Twain once said, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. So for those who has having problem with substance use disorder, you don't have to afraid, because fear is something that you can conquer. I guess that's all from me. Thank you for the opportunity, and good day, everyone. Back to you, Ms. Sophia. Everyone.
Dr. Anonat and Dr. Fitriana for your insights. All right, we have two members in the audience who raised questions. So now is the part where we answer their questions. So again, please help me welcome back Dr. Ines Danau. So I'll read the question, Doc Ines.
Okay.
The first question we have here is, if again, I'll read the question once more. If someone wants to change, should we force it or let it change by itself?
Okay. It looks like an equivalent question. Huh? Okay. The first one is wants to change. Okay. If the person, should we force? The person wants to change, so there's no force involved. There's no force.
Quite vague. All right.
So what we're talking about here in the Festinger's theory and also the TTM is person is ready for change once there is that ambivalence. So we have to watch out. We have to listen carefully. So timing is important.
Okay.
We have to listen very carefully. Once the person expresses ambivalence, we pick that up right away and keep on asking questions so that the person is able to crystallize the reason, the motivation for change. Maybe Dr. Piana and Dr. Anona can also share their thoughts on this.
Dr. Rita.
Yes. Hello, Miss Isaac. Can you hear my voice?
Would you want to respond to this question or add
Yes,
something
I
to
would
it?
like to add something, just a little bit. Well, I guess what Dr. Daniel said was true, that if someone, yes, if someone wants to change, then there's no need to force it. Yeah, if someone wants to change, then he or she has to find the reason within, not from the outside, but it's from within herself, within himself. Yeah, that is called self-awareness. And it is the duty of therapy to provide the pathways for patients to find their self-awareness. I guess that's all from me. I guess that's all from me.
Thank you, Dr.
Lisa.
Rika. Another question here from the Faculty of Law. I would like to ask you regarding the theory of cognitive dissonance from fable of Aesop, the wolf and the grape tree. First of all, the wolf is thirsty and want to get the grapefruit. Grapefruit is sour. I would like to know whether substance use disorders are only for alcohol, drug, and cigarette, or does it also include the addiction to gadget or internet? Can we use the same Aesop approach? Please advise.
Yes, correct. Any kind of compulsion, obsession, wherein the person loses control, then we can use that.
So gadget and internet is also a form of addiction, right?
Yes.
All right, so I hope that's a pretty clear answer. So I'll move on to the next question. Still from the Faculty of Law, why nowadays many teenagers like to smoke or drink alcohol and even consider it a necessity? So why
You
do
said
teenagers like
teenagers?
to smoke?
Yes. Because teenagers are very much influenced by their peer group. So it's a group activity. They enjoy each other's company. It also, because if you want to belong, then you have to join in that activity.
All right, thank you.
So it's a peer group support. Dr. Pitriana and Dr. Anona.
Ma'am, would you like to add to that?
Yes, thank you. I would like to add a little from the psychological perspective. Yeah. So if someone thinks that if I belong to some group that drinks and smoke, that makes me feel a better person, yeah, or maybe being attached to that peer group, yeah. I think the first thing that we need to do is to recognize the cognitive distortion, which is called should thinking. Yeah, some of people have this this kind of thinking, should thinking. If I do this, then should be this. Yeah. If I drink, then my friend should accept me. So this is one of the example of cognitive distortions of should thinking. So through therapy, we are going to talk about this kind of thinking, this kind of destructive thinking, and how we learn a new ways of better way to adapt with the situation in a healthy way. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Isa. Dr. Danao.
Dr. Rika. We have one last question here from the Communication Science faculty. Is it possible if someone who already is in the contemplation stage of change go back again to the pre-contemplation stage by any reason stage of change to go back again to the pre-contemplation stage by any reasons? Who'd like to
But the thing is, in the pre-contemplation, the person lacks awareness of the positive consequence of change. So what is important is, earlier Dr. Pipriana was talking about, and Dr. Anona, about the need for psychoeducation. We have to provide information so that they will be aware of what is happening cognitively, emotionally, socially, because they're losing people they love. And they're having problems with interpersonal relationship with other people, like in the school, in the office, in the neighborhood. So it becomes very obvious that the negative consequences of the behavior are not making them feel good as well. So they feel good when they abuse, when they use excessively substances, but at the same time, it's taking a toll also on their social life and their own physical well-being. So it's not only social well-being, but also physical well-being. So it's important that we, the helping professionals, provide them so that they become aware. So that means when the person moves to contemplation, the person just need that push. So Dr. Pitriano was talking about social support. So we need the family, the friends, and also their participation in a support group. When you are in a support group, you cannot deny. You cannot deny to people who are sharing the same problem. They went through it, they went through denial, and they were able to sustain the change. So the use of the social support really is very important. So, so that the person will keep motivated and keep moving towards change. Okay, Dr. Fitriana and Dr. Anonat.
Dr. Desiree, Dr. Rika, do you have something more to add?
Yes, I agree with what Dr. Danao said, that it is important. It is important to have social support, especially from family. Yeah, because they are the biggest support. But if someone cannot have social support from their family, then they should learn to create their own support system. And there is other ways of therapies help them to provide ways to recognize what triggers them to use substance excessively, and then create a new ways to support them to stay healthy and stay sober.
You? What about Dr.
Okay.
Desiree?
So I guess I agree with Dr. Danao and Dr. Rihanna with what was stated, that the most important support should be coming from the family, as the family is the main source where the client is getting the strength. They are the very source where the client can stand all the difficulties, the struggle that they are encountering during the treatment process. So meaning to say, support is very much important. Meaning to say, support is very important to be given by
Thank you.
very,
So, I think those are the questions that were raised for our audience. So, thank you very much for sharing your curiosity, and thank you again, Dr. Ines, Dr. Rika, Dr. Desiree, for sharing your opinions and insights. Patiently stay with us until this program is finished. So, before we end, I'd like to inform that the certificate of participation will be released per school. So UM will send an evaluation link to our students and faculty, while you a lot of insights about understanding people with substance abuse. So to formally close our program, please help me welcome again the Program Coordinator of Master Social Work Program, Dr. Christine Marie
Ladies and gentlemen,
Concepcion.
a pleasant afternoon to all the participants in this international lecture on understanding persons with substance use disorders. Substance use disorder is a multifaceted problem. Isa, is it slow? Is my audio slow?
You're okay, Ma'am Tin. You're okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Substance abuse or substance use disorder is a multifaceted problem. Unless we truly understand what is going on in the process, we may not be able to find the most reliable and appropriate intervention. And despite many programs and initiatives done, this still occurs. Aside from the insightful and very informative talk from Dr. Danao, we also heard responses from psychology discipline-related perspective response from Dr. Rika Pitriana, and also social work perspective from Dr. Desiree Anonat. Okay, so cognitive dissonance theory allowed us to understand how distressing psychological tension that one experiences influences the techniques that the person undergoes in the process. Trans-theoretical model, on the other hand, allowed us to see stages of change that may take at least 5 years to achieve the desired outcome or to at least avoid relapse. A visual representation or presentation of stages of change revealed how challenging is to move from one stage or one phase to another in order to avoid relapse. We also take note that various mental health issues arise through substance use disorders, together with physiological, cognitive, and psychological issues. Thus, um, campaign, appropriate campaign is necessary, early detection, and also social empowerment has been repeated all throughout this discussion. Our understanding of these challenging processes allows us to develop empathy rather than indifference toward those who struggle coping with substance use disorder. No amount of words could clearly describe their struggles. Thus, psychosocial intervention, psychotherapy, religious related intervention are imperative. So this afternoon, we indeed had a very productive and meaningful discussion. We hope that we shall be able to develop empathy and translate our information and insights gained in concrete terms, no matter how little it is, as long as it makes a difference in the lives of people that we get in contact with on a daily basis, those who may be struggling with substance use disorder or not. Once again, have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dean Concepcion, for the closing remarks. So before we say goodbye to each other, I'd like to request everyone to please turn on your camera for our group photo. So if it's still there, kindly turn on your camera for group photo and flash your sweetest smile. All right, ready? 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. More. While I take our screenshots. All right, and one last. 1, 2. All right, so that ends our webinar for today. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for staying with us for almost
Thank you, everybody.
We'd like to say thank you very much to Madam Danao. And also thank you to Madam Christine.
Thank you also, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hah? Tapi gambarnya nggak nampak.
Magandang hapon.
Thank you everyone and be safe.
Magandang hapon.
Yes, magandang hapon.
Salamat.
Be
Sa
safe
muling
there in Indonesia.
Sa muling
As we are here in
pagkikita.
Philippines.
Okay, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you very much. Eugene Leaf.
This is
Anton, Paali.
This is BTS.
Okay.
We thank you to Madam Sim Danao. Thank you, and Madam Sim Clean. Thank you, Madam Sim and others. Thank you, Madam.